So, when you think of Bitcoin, you probably don't picture like a peaceful Himalayan kingdom, right?
Right.
But that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah.
Bhutan.
Bhutan.
This tiny country, famous for prioritizing happiness, is quietly becoming a Bitcoin powerhouse.
It is.
They're using it to boost their economy,
Yeah.
become more independent, and it's a really surprising story.
It is, yeah.
Especially when you consider their image, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone thinks of them as this idyllic Shangri-La.
Exactly. Yeah, like all about meditation and mountains and the environment.
Right, exactly. All about sustainability. But, they face real economic challenges, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a lot of developing countries.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest ones is their dependence on India
Yeah.
for imports, which has caused a trade deficit.
Right.
And on top of that, a lot of their young people are leaving
Yeah.
to find better opportunities.
Yeah, it's a brain drain problem.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And, Bhutan's really famous for their gross national happiness index, right?
Yes.
But even they have social issues like domestic violence, alcohol abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no country's perfect.
No, definitely not a utopia, right?
Right.
So it's a more complex picture
No, it is.
than, we might think at first.
Yeah.
And that's where Bitcoin comes
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
The article we're looking at today is from Bitcoin magazine. It's called Bhutan, Another Country Using Bitcoin to Escape Poverty.
Okay.
And it's written by Alex V. Frankenberg.
Okay.
He actually visited Bhutan,
Wow.
talked to people, really got a firsthand account of how they're using Bitcoin.
Interesting.
So what's really fascinating is that Bhutan has been mining Bitcoin
Okay.
since 2019
Wow.
using their abundant hydroelectric power,
Oh, wow. That's smart.
which makes them the only carbon negative country
Really?
with a Bitcoin stash that large.
I didn't know that.
So, when we say carbon negative, we mean that Bitcoin mining, it takes a lot of energy,
It does, yeah.
and that energy usually comes from fossil fuels.
Right.
But because Bhutan's using hydropower, a renewable source,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually removing more carbon from the atmosphere
That's amazing.
than they're emitting through the mining process.
Wow. So they're mining Bitcoin in a way that's good for the planet.
Exactly, yeah.
That's pretty incredible. So how much Bitcoin are they holding?
They're holding 13,000 Bitcoin,
Wow.
which is about 30% of their GDP.
30%. That's huge.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
It's like if the U.S. government held Bitcoin,
Right.
that was worth 30% of our entire economy.
Wow, yeah, I see what you mean. That puts it into perspective. So it's basically like every citizen in Bhutan owns a piece of this, right?
Yeah, indirectly, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Every citizen indirectly holds almost 0.02 Bitcoin,
Okay.
which is about 8 times their average monthly income. And get this, the king of Bhutan, Jigme Khizar Namgyal Wangchuk, he's been a Bitcoin believer since 2011.
Really? Since 2011?
Yeah, way before most people had even heard of it.
That's amazing.
The author of the article even describes a conversation where the king told him, hodl, hodl, hodl.
Hodl.
Yeah, so hodling, it basically means holding on to your Bitcoin.
Okay.
For the long term, even when the price is, going up and down.
Right, right.
It's a strategy based on the belief that Bitcoin's value will continue to rise.
Okay.
So they're not just mining Bitcoin and spending it right away.
Right.
They're holding on to it as a long-term investment.
Yeah.
But how does that actually help them with the challenges we talked about earlier?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, it's not like they could just sit on a pile of digital currency and expect everything to get better,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So what are they actually doing with it?
Well, they're basically betting on Bitcoin's future value
Okay.
to boost their economy.
So it's like a national savings account.
Kind of, yeah. If the value of Bitcoin goes up like they think it will, it'll increase their national wealth.
It's a bold strategy for sure.
It is, yeah.
It's like they're playing the long game,
Yeah.
banking on Bitcoin to become, a big player in global finance.
Right.
But how else does this help them?
Well, there's another really interesting thing they're doing.
Okay.
They're using Bitcoin as a kind of energy battery.
An energy battery. I don't follow it.
So, Bhutan has all this hydroelectric power, right?
Right.
Especially in the winter.
Okay.
They produce more than they need.
Okay.
So by mining Bitcoin, they're essentially storing that excess energy.
Oh, I see.
It's like they're turning their renewable energy into this valuable asset.
Yeah, that's really clever. So they're not just hoping the price of Bitcoin goes up.
Right.
They're actively using it to manage their energy.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a smart way to leverage their strengths, you know?
Yeah.
They've got all this renewable energy
Right.
and a leader who gets Bitcoin.
Right.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how this all fits together now. It's not just about like speculation. It's about building a more resilient economy
Exactly.
and becoming more independent.
Right. It's a really fascinating case study.
It is.
Yeah. It's really interesting how they're using Bitcoin to kind of navigate the world of international finance.
Right.
You know, they're really tied to the Indian rupee for
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin gives them, you know, like another option.
Ah, okay. So it's like a backup plan.
Yeah.
A way to not put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah, exactly.
Currency-wise.
Yeah, it gives them more flexibility in international trade
Okay.
and helps them manage their foreign currency reserves.
Right.
So it's a step towards greater financial independence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially for a small country trying to kind of make their mark on the world stage.
Exactly.
It's like they're hedging their bets.
Yeah.
But it can't all be, sunshine and roses, right?
Right.
There's got to be some risks involved with this approach, right? I mean, Bitcoin's still pretty new.
Yeah.
And the price can go up and down like crazy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the downsides?
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Like the volatility is a major concern.
Oh.
You know, if Bitcoin were to crash, I mean, really crash,
Right.
it could have a huge impact on Bhutan's economy.
Right, because they've put so much into it.
Exactly. They've got a lot riding on it.
Right. Okay.
So that's definitely a big risk.
Okay, and what about the environmental side of things? I mean, we talked about how they're using clean energy
Right.
for mining, but isn't there a bigger concern about just how much energy Bitcoin uses?
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I mean, globally, the Bitcoin network uses a lot of energy.
Okay.
And, a lot of that does come from fossil fuels.
Right.
But what Bhutan is doing shows that it can be done sustainably,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you use renewable sources
Yeah.
like they are with hydropower.
Right. Yeah.
So they're kind of a good example
Sure.
for the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's possible to do it the right way.
Yeah. And Bitcoin mining can actually be a good thing for renewable energy.
Really? How so?
Well, because it uses so much power,
Right.
it creates this demand
Okay.
for cheap, reliable energy.
Okay.
And what's the cheapest, most reliable source?
Renewables.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it could actually speed up
Yeah.
the
An
transition
transition to a cleaner grid.
to a cleaner energy future. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So Bitcoin mining could actually have like a positive impact
It could, yeah.
on the environment in the long run
Potentially, yeah.
if it's done right.
Especially in places with a lot of renewable resources.
Right, like Bhutan.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. What about other kind of side effects?
Well, one thing to consider is the technological development that comes with mining.
Okay.
Bhutan is getting pretty good
Yeah.
at, running and maintaining these mining rigs.
Right.
And that's creating jobs.
Okay.
And it's giving young people these valuable tech skills.
So it's not just about the Bitcoin itself.
Right.
It's about, building a more tech-savvy workforce.
Exactly. And those skills can be used in other areas, too.
Okay.
Bhutan has already implemented a digital national ID card.
Really?
Yeah, on the Polygon blockchain.
Wait, blockchain. Remind me what that is again?
Oh, sure. So blockchain is basically a digital ledger
Okay.
that's public and very secure. It's like
Yeah.
a shared history book that everyone can see and trust.
Right.
And it's the technology behind Bitcoin
Yeah.
and a lot of other cryptocurrencies.
Right. Right.
So they're using that for their ID cards.
Okay, so how does that work?
Mm.
What's the advantage of that?
Well, it makes things a lot more efficient and secure.
Okay.
Citizens can use their digital ID to, access government services, vote, prove their identity.
Okay.
And because it's on a blockchain, it's much harder to forge or tamper with.
So it's like a really high-tech solution
Yeah,
to real problems.
exactly.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool how they're embracing all this new technology,
Yeah.
but still holding on to their cultural identity.
Right. Right.
It's a really interesting balance.
Yeah, and it seems to be like, part of the king's vision
Right.
for modernizing Bhutan.
Yeah.
I mean, he's spearheading this huge project to build a new innovation hub
Yes.
called Jalefu Mindfulness City.
Yeah, I read about that.
It's like a multi-billion-dollar thing
It is, yeah.
to attract foreign investment
Right.
and talent.
Yeah, it's really ambitious.
It is, and it fits in perfectly with their whole Bitcoin strategy. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's about, creating a more dynamic economy
Yeah,
that's connected to the rest of the world.
exactly.
So they're not just, hoarding wealth. They want
Yeah.
to become like a hub for innovation.
A global center
Yeah.
for innovation. Yeah.
They're thinking long term.
They are. Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
But I'm curious with all this, excitement about Bitcoin,
Yeah.
why aren't they like shouting it from the rooftops?
That's a good question.
The article mentioned that, Bhutanese officials are kind of shy
Yeah.
about talking about their Bitcoin holdings publicly.
Yeah, and I think that probably has to do with their reliance on aid,
Okay.
from developed countries
Right.
and international organizations. They
Right.
don't want to, make anyone nervous.
Right. Rock the boat too much.
Exactly.
Jeopardize those relationships.
Right. So they're kind of, quietly building their reserves,
Yeah.
but being discreet
Right. Yeah.
on the international stage.
It's a balancing act.
It is, yeah.
For sure.
They're playing the long game.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, with Bitcoin and with their development goals.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing,
It is.
how Bhutan's kind of quietly putting themselves on the map,
Yeah.
like right at the forefront of all this tech stuff,
Hmm.
but still like holding on to their traditions and values.
Yeah, they're not, just throwing everything away and
Right.
jumping on the bandwagon blindly.
Yeah, it's like they're doing it their own way.
Exactly. They're finding their own path.
Yeah, writing their own rule book.
Mhm.
And it's especially interesting
Mm.
when you think about, geopolitics,
Oh, absolutely.
their relationship with India.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they need India, right?
Mhm.
For trade, for support.
Yeah, for a lot of things.
But they also want to be, independent,
Right. They want to be their own country.
their own country, make their own decision.
Exactly. It's a tough balance,
Yeah.
to be close to a powerful neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
but also maintain your sovereignty.
Right. And Bitcoin could actually help them with that.
It could, yeah.
Right. By giving them more economic freedom,
Exactly.
less reliance on any one country,
Hmm.
even India.
Right. It's about diversifying their economy and having more options.
Yeah. So it's not just about, economic growth, it's about strategic autonomy too.
Exactly.
So that's really fascinating.
It is.
I wonder though, could other developing countries
Yeah.
kind of copy this?
That's a good question.
And do they have what it takes?
I mean, not every country has, the same advantages as Bhutan. They've got all this hydropower
Yeah.
and a leader who really understands Bitcoin.
Yeah, a true hodler.
A true hodler, yeah.
From way back. But even if, other countries can't do exactly what Bhutan's doing,
Yeah.
their story is still pretty inspiring.
Oh, absolutely.
It shows that there are different ways to develop,
Hmm.
that don't rely on like the old ways of doing things.
The traditional model.
Yeah, the aid and the debt.
Right.
It's like they're showing that there's another way.
Yeah, they're challenging the status quo
Yeah.
and offering this glimpse of a different future.
Where technology can actually empower people.
Yeah, and give them more control.
Yeah, and it's cool that it's coming from, this unexpected place.
Right. It's not Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's not what you'd expect.
It's a small Himalayan kingdom
Exactly.
that's leading the way.
So this whole deep dive has been amazing,
It
We've
has.
learned how Bhutan is using Bitcoin
Yeah.
to build a stronger economy,
Mm-hmm.
become more tech savvy,
Mm-hmm.
and even like stand up on the world stage.
Yeah. It's really impressive.
It is, and they're doing it all
Mm.
while staying true to their values
Exactly.
of happiness,
Mhm.
sustainability,
Yeah.
and mindful development.
It's a really holistic approach.
It is, and it makes you think, right?
It does.
Could
Yeah.
Bhutan be a model for other countries?
It's a good
What
question.
are the risks and the rewards?
Yeah. What are the challenges?
Yeah, what are the opportunities?
Mhm.
Those are questions for you to consider, you know,
For our listeners.
for our listeners to think about.
Yeah.
We've given you the information. We've shown you what Bhutan's doing.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to explore further, challenge your own assumptions,
Yeah.
and see what lessons you can learn from this remarkable story.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is.
For sure.
So until next time,
Keep diving.
keep diving.